Welcome to Extra Take. A few years ago, we were all saying that cats had taken over the internet. Right now, memes have taken over the internet, and it's plainly obvious. When I was in college, there were like 20 memes that you used for every single joke. The OG black and white cartoon memes. But today, you add any font to any image and you have a meme. Every now and then, one of them becomes king for a few weeks or months. So what are memes? They're simply ideas. They're not real things. Think of memes like new words that pop up. Nobody ever said selfie until 2012 or something like that. Nothing was stopping anybody from saying the word. It just didn't make any sense until good cell phone cameras finally came out. I never heard the word meme until 2011, but Richard Dawkins, of all people, coined the term in 1976 in this book, The Selfish Gene, which is the book that launched him into fame because it showed us that he is a brilliant evolutionary biologist. What does any of this have to do with the title? And how can a fact not be true? If everybody on Earth collectively believed in one particular thing, but it turned out we were wrong, that's a fact that isn't true. And we fool ourselves all the time. Information doesn't have to be true for it to be information. We trust people we like or who hold power. This leads to an idea, a meme, that passes from person to person. And when it is repeated enough times, it becomes culturally or colloquially true. But it is literally false. I'm just going to rattle off a bunch and briefly debunk them. The North Star is not the brightest star in the night sky. It's Sirius. Your blood isn't blue when it has no dissolved oxygen in it. It's always red. Dog mouths are not cleaner than human mouths. I think this one is a misinterpretation, because many dog mouths can contain fewer germs than human mouths. But that is not what clean means. Dog germs are not less harmful to humans than germs from other humans. Iron Maidens never existed in medieval times. They were fabricated in the 1800s for fake museums and carnivals. Napoleon wasn't short. Everybody was short back then. He was at or above average height. In fact, the average weight of an American Civil War soldier was 125 pounds. That's 50 pounds less than me. 5'10", not very muscular me. Shaving makes hair grow back twice as thick. Okay, just think about this. Twice as thick every time you shave? That would mean that after shaving merely 5 times, your hair would be 32 times thicker. And what does that mean? 32 times as many hairs? 32 times the diameter of each hair? When you shave, it gives the hair a more blunt, flat, straight-cut top, so it might feel more coarse when it starts to grow back. That appears to be the origin of this fact. I before E except after C. In the English language, the number of words that break that rule is 3 to 1. Even if you add the caveat, when pronounced A like neighbor and way, it still isn't a rule, because there are a huge number of exceptions. The 5 senses of the human body. You have more than 20, and will probably find more. Your ability to sense temperature, balance, acceleration, stretch, tension. The ability to close your eyes and stick out your arm and be able to feel where your fingertips are. These are all unique senses. Gum takes 7 years to digest. Gum is actually completely indigestible, apart from the sugar it contains. But your digestive system pushes out the gum at the same rate everything else does. It doesn't sit in your body for 7 years. Trees give us oxygen. No, they don't. Trees require oxygen, just like you and I do. They metabolize sugars and use oxygen to do that. They have mitochondria. Trees use virtually 100% of the oxygen they make during photosynthesis. If every tree on the planet disappeared, the amount of oxygen in the atmosphere would barely change. Single-celled photosynthetic algae and other much smaller and simpler organisms in the oceans produce most of the oxygen that we breathe. Thank them for the oxygen in the air. The story of George Washington and the cherry tree is completely made up. Your hair and nails don't continue to grow after you die. Your skin dehydrates and your body shrivels when you die, but your nails don't. It can look like your nails grew, but really your fingers shrank underneath of them. Oranges aren't orange. Okay, they are, but not naturally. Ripe oranges have green skin and orange flesh. We spray oranges with ethylene gas to make the cells in the skin die, turning the skin orange. We do this because when we act as market consumers, we are totally irrational. This leads to a lot of weirdness in advertising and the way products are presented. Viking helmets never had horns. Don't really have anything to add, they just didn't. Vincent van Gogh did not cut off his ear. He did cut off part of the lobe of his ear, but that is drastically different. I cut my finger a week ago is vastly different than I cut my finger off. But it is a much more catchy idea that I did cut it off, or that Van Gogh did cut his whole ear off, so we choose to believe it. This one I actually just learned a couple days ago. Nowhere in the Bible does it say that there were 3 wise men. The Gospel of Matthew is the only book that mentions anything of Jesus being brought gifts, and there are some characters known as magi mentioned, but no number is given. I'm guessing because 3 specific gifts are mentioned, 3 people were just invented to satisfy the story. Sometimes I think we all end up believing in a false fact, even when nobody misleads us. I've never been told or read anywhere that the North Star is the brightest star. But when I talk to my students in astronomy class, so many of them think the North Star is the brightest. But none of them ever say they heard it was. They just thought that it was. We're not actually good at being rational. We create patterns where they don't exist. The North Star is the only star almost anybody can name, even though its real name is Polaris. We tend to forget that the sun is a star too. I think people just default to, it's the only star I know, therefore it's also the brightest star. And that's definitely a bug, not a feature. It really isn't helpful. How much harm does being fooled by the list of things I gave lead to? Probably none. But there are plenty of facts that aren't true that really matter. 41% of Americans think that dinosaurs and humans coexisted, and that the Earth is less than 10,000 years old. They take the first 10 or whatever sentences of the Bible so literally that they refuse to believe that this cannot be true. The reason thinking an obvious falsity like that is true is harmful is that it requires you to forcefully prevent yourself from being receptive of the truth. A society that refuses to learn is a society that cannot be sustained. Believe in God. Really, go right ahead. You'll be fine. But don't dispel obvious facts. Then there's the surge of vaccines and autism and the flat earthers. The vaccines thing, that will literally kill people, and it has to be crushed with unrelenting effort, not force. We cannot force people to know the truth. That's immoral, and it doesn't really work that well. But we have no choice but to kill this evil spread of misinformation with the right information. The flat earth movement is a problem for the same reason thinking dinosaurs and humans coexisted is a problem. Oh boy, people aren't going to like this one. Guns don't save people's lives. We are worse off when we have the attitude that we need to protect ourselves from what are statistically non-threats. This is a hard one to communicate, but here's the best I can do. Imagine if there was a kind of medicine that was known definitely saved people's lives in certain situations. But the vast majority of the times the drug was ever given to somebody, the drug itself kills the person. You cannot justify the administration of that drug. We know for a fact that having a gun in your home makes you much more unsafe, much more likely to die than if you don't have one. Last time I looked, you are 22 times more likely to be severely injured or killed by your own gun than to ever be in a situation where you would even use it. That statistic isn't produced by computer simulations. It's produced from data. This advice literally kills far greater numbers of people than it even has the potential to save. This idea for this video started off as a fun video, but I want to make these videos have a deeper purpose, so it got a little controversial and serious at the end. I've talked about the value of education and science enough times in enough videos. If there's something new that I want this video to open people up to, it's to try and always ask yourself, are you truly convinced by the things you think you know are true? Have you ever thought about what would change your mind, or what would convince you otherwise? Pursue those things. You'll either be wrong and learn something, or be right and have a better understanding of why. Thanks for watching.